There's only one angle.
Hello. So what'd you write? What'd you text us last night, Mike? Optimism is misery or something like that?
I said optimism is fucked, and that's
hey.
no, it is, and I'm sorry. That's why, like, I'm a realist, and I went into this weekend saying that the Bills were going to lose because I thought they were going to lose, and I thought Kansas City was the better team. And I just wrote a blog for Hockey Buzz comparing the Leafs and the Bills, how they're blood brothers in misery and heartbreak. Because if you compare them, the two teams. They won their last championships around the same time in the mid-'60s.
Right.
Their peak years were when the Bills went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls in 90 to 93. The Leafs, 93 and 94, the 2 consecutive conference. They lost heartbreak. Like home run throwback, wide right. Now 13 seconds, and the Leafs obviously with. The Great Western Forum screw job and Game 7 and 4-1 and blowing to it's like if you're a fan of both of these teams, you're a masochist. You really are. And that I am glad that I took the attitude that I did all along and saying the Bills were going to lose, because that saved me a lot of agita yesterday, because even with 13 seconds left, I knew they were going to blow up. I knew they were going to blow it. I absolutely knew.
Okay, I have a different angle.
Okay,
No, that's fair. What I'm going to talk about is the actual broadcast, because I thought that was one of the best games I've ever seen and one of the worst broadcasts I've ever seen. So to start off with the broadcast, like, no offense to Al Michaels, but I looked up his age. At 77, he really should not be the lead guy anymore.
Well,
boring.
It was Romo and Nance.
No, not the night game. Sorry, the game before. Yeah, the Rams Bucks game. Sorry.
Right.
He's terribly boring. When you watch Romo and Nance, you get an unbelievable amount of information compared to when you watch Michaels and Collingsworth. So there's that. You also had at the end of the game for the interviews, Catherine Tappan asked Cooper Kupp what it's like to play, what it'll be like to play in his home barn. Like, that is a hockey-only reference. And the fact that they've tried to transition her, clearly it's not working, because Cooper Kupp looked at her like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Your home barn.
Al, let me tell you something about Von Miller.
And even Al Michaels went barn, and he kind of like was just like tried to do something to save the moment. But then also the post game was just unbelievably bad, considering all it was Al Michaels and Chris Collingsworth again in the booth. It's like they looked worn out. Like, it was like, this is it. You don't have like a panel. You don't have anything. They went back to those guys for post game, and I was just like, that is going to be the Super Bowl broadcast. That's my basic point, and it is going to be bad.
Russ, the FanDuel and DraftKings were having an over-under on how many times Chris Collinsworth could kiss the butt of Aaron Donald. Oh, my God, Aaron Donald, he's a...
Well, actually, it was worse. So it was worse for Brady. Even my wife had agreed with me that this was such a pro-Brady broadcast that when Matt Stafford scored his touchdown where he ran it in and it looked like the game was out of reach, it was like Al Michaels was calling a funeral. Collinsworth at least had to say something nice about Stafford. But even later in the game, they were pointing to at least 100 different things where Brady could come back and win this game for the Rams, instead of actually talking about like how Stafford and the Rams pass rush was really winning this game and eventually won the game. But it was such a bad broadcast.
No, I want to get Kevin's perspective on this, because I saw a lot of people, across the media spectrum, hockey people, football people, baseball people, that's the greatest playoff game I've ever seen. Okay, from the Buffalo perspective, bullcrap. It was not the greatest playoff game. It was a great game. It was a heartbreaking loss. So don't expect the fans of the Bills to say that's the greatest playoff game ever, because it's only the greatest playoff game ever if you win it.
That's not true.
Yeah, that's not
From
right.
that point of view, that's what it is. Sorry.
He froze.
He froze.
You silenced him, Mike. Good
no,
job.
he'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back. Yeah, that Buffalo game. had so many different storylines to it, but one of them is the long-suffering Buffalo fans. So I do think you got to take that into consideration as an element of that game. But too many people, the majority of people who watch an NFL playoff game don't have a vested interest in it. It's that's a sport where the pyramid is upside down compared to the NHL. By the time you get to deep into the playoffs, you have a lot of people who don't really care about either team. For those people, the majority of people who watch that game, that was one of the best playoff games they've ever seen. Without a doubt, no question. It was intriguing. And for as much as you say that you knew Buffalo was going to lose, that really wasn't true. I mean, for most of the people who watch that, who don't have your sense of history and all that kind of stuff, that was a could go either way game.
Yeah, that's what made it. Had they flashed up the odds of the Chiefs coming back to tie that game, it would probably be like 5%.
Yeah. I mean, it was just an incredible game, and it came on the heels of a very good game before that, where Matthew Stafford, came back against the greatest quarterback of all time, and even though Russ was valid in his criticisms of was too much Tom Brady. One of the reasons it was too much Tom Brady is he is the greatest of all time.
He's just a story. Yeah, he's a story.
Yeah, he is always the story. And if he's out, that's a major story.
Yeah, so I was talking to my wife about that. You're right, Kevin. We were talking about players that transcend the game, and ones that are playing right now in all the sports. I think the only one is Brady. Like I think he's the only player that transcends the game that's playing in any of the major four sports right now.
Yeah, and it is interesting because
LeBron James would be another, I think. But that's
but Brady's level is different too, even by the choice of the women he's been with. You know what I mean? Like they have their own notoriety, which notoriety, and some of the things that he's done.
He's a mega star.
Well, yeah. In addition to what he's done on the field, he threw the Lombardi Trophy across the the water and everything else. But I mean, I get that Buffalo fans, I have an affinity for them. I feel like they've long suffered and all that, but that doesn't really enter into whether or not that was one of the greatest games, because it simply was. Too many people who watched that were on the edge of their seats and didn't have the same feeling.
I was standing up watching, like I couldn't.
Yeah, no, my wife always looks forward to the playoffs, and I was actually driving, trying to get to Chicago, and she was sending me texts about what was going on in the early game before, the 4:00 game, and then in the second game as well. It was just incredible. That was, I saw a Facebook post this morning where someone said, I'd rather have a better stock market than great football. But the point of that was we saw great football. Now our stock market is collapsing.
Right. Very interesting. All right, let's get to this. Here we go. Going to check my phone because that's what I do. All right. Hello, Hockey World. It is Monday, January 24th, 2022.
I'm Michael Agello, and optimism is dead.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and as a Jets fan, it was a great weekend for me.
Kevin Allen of Hockey Buzz.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And here we go. Before we get into something that I want to talk about today, and I'll tell you how I even got to what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get to that in a second. There are a couple of little things that I do want to mention moving forward. And I think we have to start with the rumors of the Jacob Chychrun trade, which are fascinating on a lot of levels. And not all true from what I've been told from some people inside the hockey world. And then I brought up even in my blog was, should the NHL even let this trade happen? Like, I still don't think they should. I think they should not let it happen. But
well, they're going to let it happen.
They're going to let it happen. I know, but at the same time, this to me, they might as if they move Chychrun, they might as well move the franchise. Like that was my point.
That too.
Well, getting to that,
and that's been long overdue too. But I mean, this is an instance where it's obviously, it's not just been reported by one person. It's been reported by multiple people. They're fielding offers. I know Kev was saying that, some of the stuff that's been out there may not even be sufficient to, for a player of Chychrun's age and status and contract situation with him, under $5 million for 3 more years. But it appears Bill Armstrong is just in asset collection mode.
Not making many friends in this one, I'll tell you. I talked to 2 different people who were involved. 2 different teams are involved in this one, and they feel like his asking price is. I mean, we've heard about the concept of a first round draft pick and then 2 players who were drafted in the first round, essentially.
Right.
And that's not
first round quality.
together.
They didn't have to be drafted in the first round. It's first round quality.
First round
Comparable.
quality. Yeah, right.
First round
comparable.
comparables.
Right, okay.
Right.
That's
Which is the Eichel package, basically.
Yeah, it's not all together. I mean, your first round quality is, some of the players he's asking for, I've been told, are kind of crazy. Like, and this has gotten to the point where, like, for example, it was reported out there that Florida is one of the teams involved, right? That they're involved, and
the Rangers
are involved.
It was either Friedman or Jeff Merrick that mentioned on Saturday night that the Rangers were involved and Kravtsov was one of the players.
Yeah, he'd be one of them.
Pick.
The Kings are involved, I was told,
and that would probably be Alex Turcotte or maybe Byfield, but I don't know. Byfield is a second.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think teams are offering players like Turcotte, and the Coyotes are saying, we want Byfield, or they offer a good player and they tell the Panthers, we want the goalie, we want Knight,
we want Knight, or we want Lundell.
But that's not unreasonable. I don't think.
It depends. Yeah, I guess it depends on what side you're looking at, and how good Chychrun. I agree with you that Chychrun is good enough to, say perhaps get like, Lund. But even if you took like says like Lundell straight up, or
it's not gonna be straight up.
No, but let's just say that for a second.
Yeah.
Would both teams do that?
No.
Neither team.
No, that's one of those cases where neither team might do.
Neither team would do that. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think neither team would do Knight straight up for him.
But but those kind of things go on all the time. So that's why I don't think it's really unreasonable for what he's offering. I've actually
doesn't mean it'll end up there.
Right. No, I'm just saying, but this is where it started. So and he's been very, from what I've been told, they're very much, they're trying to make this a public negotiation. And that happens sometimes too, So when you get in that situation,
it's in their
that's another thing that scares certain teams. Like a team I talked to a team in the Western Conference, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't want that. We're not going to do a public negotiation for this."
It's in their benefit to do that because then they can raise the price. I mean, and I'll just use Florida as an example. They're not going to want just Lundell. They're going to want Lundell, a number 1, and like Denisenko or something like that. They're going to want the package that pays them off, and if they don't get that, they'll say, okay, we'll move on to the next one. They'll find somebody to pay that.
They'll get somebody on close to what they're asking. Like they're not going to get Byfield, but and they're not going to get Spencer Knight, but they'll get close because they'll find a team that is like 4 really prospects deep, then they can get a couple of them.
I think Boston is that team. Because they can give up DeBrusk, who is a first round player. They can give up that first round pick. I don't think that first round pick is an issue because all those players, all those teams that are in, their first round pick is down where it used to be a second round pick.
Agreed.
So now Boston gives up a first, a second, DeBrusk. So now all they're haggling over is who that 4th player is.
Yeah, and for like say Boston, it could be a Studnicka, it could be Vakanainen.
Vakanainen. He's playing a lot lately. He's over his concussions. He's a really good prospect. It could be him.
Could be Swayman.
Swayman.
They might be asking for Swayman. So,
And another possibility is like somebody in the chat was saying, a rather interesting player for a number of teams is Lawson Krause. Arizona could throw in Krause in the deal to get the extra assets. So it could be more than just. Yeah.
They're asking for a lot for Krause, though, too.
Yeah.
And here's the problem Arizona's going to run up against, or whatever franchise name they're going to have in the future. Next year, whoever they draft isn't going to play in the league. Unless they're drafting 1 first overall, then they'll force the player in no matter what. Maybe they'll get a player from the minors, maybe two, and then they're going to have to sign pretty much 3/4 of that team as free agents. And that is going to be a chore just in and of itself.
Well, you say that, Russ, but the thing is, there are going to be so few teams with money next year that teams that have over a dozen unrestricted free agents like Arizona and Buffalo will be able to sign those guys because they have almost no other place to go.
Yeah, there'll be some of those, but I mean, they're going to have like 14 probably unrestricted.
Yeah. But
and you're still going to have to sign the right guys, It's still going to come down to the right guys, like that's what it comes down to. Like, looking at the way, expansion teams are, you have a lot of players to pick from. You still got to pick the right players.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona is going to basically be a piecemeal roster the next 2 or 3 years as they draft all these players. If they draft Shane Wright or whoever else is in the top of the draft, maybe they let that player play a year in junior or over in Europe, whoever it is. But, by the following season, they'll be over here and they're going to have to piece together a roster around that guy. It's basically Arizona is like an expansion team right now. They're worse off than Seattle is, in my estimation.
Yeah. But let's look at this from Arizona's perspective, though. If you believe Chychrun is a top pairing defenseman, and he's 23 and he's making $4.6 million, I mean, don't you think that's worth a Spencer Knight or a Lundell or any of those? I think
it's worth a Lundell,
Kevin,
because Lundell is just in year one of his entry level. They have Barkov signed long term, and now they have forward depth. So if Barkov was in the last year of his deal and they weren't sure of re-signing him, Lundell down the line could be the eventual replacement for him. But since they have Barkov signed, I think they're safer in trading Lundell.
I think it depends. You brought up a perfect point, Kevin. Like, if you think Chychrun is that, right? Like, and you can also say if you think Lundell is something too, because the reality is on how teams see these guys, right? Like, like Florida might see Lundell like a future Teemu Solani, that we would all say that's probably unrealistic. But if they do, and if they're building their whole future around him,
then they think that the request is unreasonable.
Then they would think the request is unreasonable. And Spencer Knight, he's having a little bit of a rough season this year for sure. But are they building their future around him?
The only thing about Chychrun is, though, you are getting 3.5 years of him, but his durability is still an issue too.
Yeah,
and that's why for like Spencer Knight, I wouldn't make the deal. Lundell, I probably would, because I think it could bring me a Stanley Cup, and I'm still going to lose on that in the long run. Yeah. But in the short term, the next 3.5 years, I probably can win the cup. So I make that deal with the other pieces, but not with Knight.
And there's a window with the Panthers right now because, their core group, they're all 25, 26 years old, all around the same, 2014, 2015 draft. They're all the same age. And from 26 to say 30, those are your peak years. You've got to strike while the iron is hot. And if you get Chychrun, you have 3 years at $4.6 million of one of the better defensemen in the league.
Yeah. I mean, the Panthers are an interesting team on a lot of levels because although their record is really good, if you look down at what they're doing right now, there's a little bit of mirrors going on with that team as far as they actually are. I saw this crazy stat about the amount of games that they won on the road in regulation or that kind of thing. It's really, really low. Like they're an absolute overtime machine. First of all, they're really doing, and they're getting a lot of points that way. And that is, of course, one of those situations. They're not perfect, and they have some issues for sure, and they need better goaltending out of Spencer Knight to beat Tampa. I don't think they're there. Like when I watch them right now,
Bob is the guy this year.
Yeah, but I mean, even better than Bob. I think they need something. I mean, really to beat. I don't see them as at Tampa's level at this point.
Oh, I think they're there. I mean, they're scoring more points than Tampa. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but they're just but there's a difference in Tampa. Like what we saw this week with Tampa, like when they have like 4 defense.
There's not a difference. What Tampa right now, their bottom 6, when you get to the playoffs, is no longer fear. It's decent, It's no longer what it was. So
it's not fear. I do agree with you there. But
Florida can roll 4 lines. Florida has better scoring potential than Tampa does. Now, it doesn't mean they won't lose the goaltending battle.
They have more. They have more depth. Up front, they have more depth. Agreed.
Well, first of all, Florida definitely benefits from playing in empty buildings. They're 21-3 at home, and their building is usually empty, even though they have 100%.
They are like third lowest in attendance or something like that.
But this is the thing. I mean, right now, like obviously, I'm going to say Tampa. Since they're 2-time Stanley Cup champions and they have all that pedigree, that I would favor them over Florida. But if Florida picks up Chychrun, they're just as much of a juggernaut as Tampa Bay. And I'm looking at it from the Toronto perspective. It's like, okay, if you don't win the division, and Florida plays Tampa in the first round, you got to go through both of them to get to the conference final.
Yeah.
Good luck, folks.
Yeah, I mean, Florida has more goals than Colorado. I mean,
but they have
not mirrors for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not. I just think that they're getting a lot more points than you would expect from like overtime victories and shootout victories.
But I mean, they were gonna.
Yeah, there's only 2 teams averaging 4 goals per game in Florida.
Their offensively is ridiculous, and we're going to get to talent levels too. And then the other thing I want to talk about before we get into into what I think is kind of a fun little exercise is the epic terribleness of the Philadelphia Flyers right now, which has to be discussed because now they've lost 11 in a row. Last 2 losses against Columbus and Buffalo. They've now lost 11. They've lost 10 in a row twice basically this season in only 40 games, which is an astonishing level. I mean, I've been around, obviously this team I've followed since I could remember hockey, and I've never seen a point like this. Like this is definitely.
Yeah, I can tell you one major problem, Matt, because I've been doing some digging. So apparently there's some sort of team agreement that they would have a certain amount of optional skates, right? So like the last optional skate they had before their last loss, they had 5 people show up. This morning, before the Stars game, they've got like 12, and like Lawton is the biggest name that showed up. My feeling is not only should there not be any optional skates, but they should be practicing harder than they've ever practiced all season because they're about to, tie a team low record of 12 consecutive losses.
Yeah.
Dallas has been in town for 2 days. So they've been in town since Saturday night. So they're going to be fine. There's not going to be any rust on them. And you're now telling me with all of your main guys not practicing today, that is going to be a positive for tonight? It's horrible. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really surprised that there hasn't been a coaching change. I'm honestly shocked.
Well, they're not going to do it. They're not going to spend money.
I mean, we talked about that. We've talked about it enough. I don't want to go down that road.
Oh, I know.
But I'm just saying that that this is tonight. Keith Yandle will tie the record tonight.
Yeah.
For consecutive games played, and it feels very forced. Like it feels very much like
if you took a poll of Flyers fans, who's happy about this? 98% would say they're not happy.
Mrs. Yandle and his 3 kids are the happy.
I mean, it's a hell of an accomplishment. I don't want to take.
I'm not saying it's not,
but he shouldn't really be in the lineup right now.
No,
and what do you do in that situation, Kevin? Like, what do you do?
I think you keep him in the lineup because you're not winning anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, right.
Well, now you're not. But I mean, a month ago when he was playing horrible, they still didn't take him out.
But it's not Keith Yandle's fault that they
lost. There's quite a bit that's his fault, like power play, bringing the puck up ice, turnovers.
He makes a lot of.
Well, we'll know. Do they take him out as soon as he goes past, or
they terminate his contract in 3 games? Is what they probably.
I mean, if they do that, Phil Kessel's going to pass him anyhow. Right. Like if they do that, Phil Kessel will pass him by the end of the season. That's the crazy part about this record.
Don't you feel that part of his free agent signing was that they would have him in the lineup? Like I feel like
I'm sure that was discussed. Yeah.
So I think that's why we're not going to see him pulled. I don't think we're going to see him pulled out, which is kind of a ridiculous thing to put into a player contract.
I'm sure it's not in the contract. I'm sure it was a handshake.
Yeah, it's a handshake agreement.
Yeah.
I'll bet you anything that for taking the low amount that he did, his just like with Patrick Marleau with San Jose, I'm going to take the league minimum, but you have to guarantee me that I'm playing every game.
Yeah,
I bet you it's that.
I think that's what it is. All right, so
let me ask you this, Kev. So when a team's not going right, And even when there's an optional practice, shouldn't leaders of a team still show up, even if they're not skating? Shouldn't they be doing something?
Absolutely. And the leaders of the team should ask the other guys to do it.
Yeah.
So, because if you got a good leader, guys will show up for you, because they got your back. And so for sure.
And one more thing before we start your list, Ack. On Saturday night, the Leafs go into UBS and beat the Islanders 3-1.
Yep.
I've never seen a more sort of heartless team. Meaning, it was 1-1 late in the first. The Leafs scored a goal with like less than a second left to go in the period, and really there was not a lot of fight from the Islanders in the second and third period. Mrazek played well, and there were a couple hits thrown, and everybody got excited when John Tavares got thrown out of the face-off circle. So, enjoy that, Islanders fans. But in the end, they're just not playing well. Most of their players are back. Pulak's back. They beat up on a bad Coyotes team 4-0 the night before, and they had no life in the second and third period. I don't see any conceivable way they're getting back in the race. None.
I disagree still, and I honestly do, and I feel like yes, we did see, they were bad in that game.
Yeah,
there's no question about it.
I do have a small report too to add before we go down this road. So yesterday, the Phantoms played, and a couple of the Phantoms that are on the taxi squad played, and now today, as a result, Nick Seeler is going to play left wing. He can't even play defense. And Mike Yo is like, well, he played a little in college, so now they're going to put him at left wing. Instead of using anybody from the Phantoms, they're going to use a defenseman who is barely an NHL skater in left wing. I just felt it would be important to point out, and that's it.
Yeah, when you're about to set a franchise record for losses in a row. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, anyway, the Islanders. Back on the Islanders, though. I mean, you're saying they're not playing well. Mike, they're 7-2-1 in their last 10 games.
Thank you for making my point. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, and they haven't gained on anybody. They're 16 points behind Boston, and they only have 4 games in hand on Boston, and they're still 21 points behind Washington. They would have to play 800 hockey the rest of the year to catch up,
and they're not capable of that.
It's not happening. Right here.
They're not capable of that. I mean, if nothing else, even if they make the right moves, all the right moves at the deadline, even at that point, even if they won like 15 in a row, they wouldn't make it.
Yeah, I'll use the Kenny Holland theory where you look at the season in 10-game segments, and most of the top teams will at least win 6, a couple will win 7, and you've got to win 8 to gain 2 points. So if they do that, you're going to get 8 points, and they need 21.
If they play 800 hockey the rest of the year, I will tip my hat to them. But they're not.
800 will may not do it.
No.
It requires them to play well and somebody to fall apart, right? And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself,
more than one team.
And there's the third element to that too, Eck, is that no one else can play well either, because there are teams ahead of them.
Right. I mean, the Red Wings, and I saw you write a great article, Kevin, about why the Red Wings should try to make the playoffs, and I agree with you. What are your thoughts on that, by the way? I'd like to hear more about that.
About the Red Wings?
Yeah, you read an article about why the Red Wings should try to make the playoffs in your mind.
Actually, that wasn't me. I wrote.
That was you.
No.
But I'll
sorry about that. I apologize.
I'll defend that in saying, what's the downside? You've got young players like Zadina and Sider and Raymond. It would do them good to be competitive and try to catch up. And try to make the playoffs when they're so young. That's a learning process. It's smart.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to be said for that, Mike. But I think in this case is they really can't catch the Boston Bruins, and everybody sort of knows that.
Right.
So if that's the case, they'd actually be better to for the franchise to get in the top 6 again, where Eisenman has hit 3 consecutive home runs as opposed to being down at 10.
Agreed. And
I will tell you, they made a good pickup today in Gamel Smith, Giovanni's brother. because he is another guy that could play bottom six in this league. It's just on Tampa, he was injured, and then they just don't have space for him. And I get it, but he's a guy that can play some minutes, and he could fill in. He's deep.
Those guys are tough to play against, Kev. I've seen them play in the American Hockey League. It's not an easy shift when you're both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. The problem with Jamel is the funny thing about those two is they're not going to live together. They just said,
Uh-oh.
I love that. That's great.
That is funny.
They want their room.
Well, I wouldn't live with my brother either.
Sorry about that. No, so they're not going to live together. But Jamel isn't actually in shape. He hasn't played yet. So he went down to Grand Rapids and he started down there. But that's their plan. They're getting nothing really out of their bottom six.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to get it going.
But it could be a good move. It really could be a good under-the-radar move in a few weeks.
Yeah, and I think they've done their homework on the draft, and I've talked to a number of people as well, and it just would be better if they could get in the top six again, as opposed to be around 10, which is where they would be now. But all their scoring is coming from their top two lines, and really it was just the number one line. Their number one line was scoring 44% of their goals, and they moved Bertuzzi down to the second line, so now they have a little more balance. But they're just like, if it was worth it, I would agree with Mike, but I don't. I mean,
it's never worth it to agree with Mike, Kevin.
Yeah, but I mean,
only
there is something to be said for a young team, working together and trying to make the playoffs. And they are an improved team. Like they win some games. The problem is they go through periods where they're just not all that competitive with good teams.
They remind me a lot of Ottawa last year. You know what I mean? Like where they're just fun to watch, and you can see where they're going.
The reason Ottawa was fun to watch is because they played about 20 games against the two teams in the NHL that they have success against, and that's Montreal and Toronto. Now that they're playing an 82-game schedule against the rest of the league, they have 27 points, and they're like second or third worst in the league. And I love the talent in Ottawa, but it's just sort of flatlined this year. They've had injuries, they've had COVID problems.
Oh yeah,
but.
I'll say this about Detroit in the draft, though. They've already got their top line, top pairing guys. And actually, even if they're picking at 10, could get terrific second line centers, number 3 or 4 defensemen at that point, which is still going to be really valuable for them.
Yeah, it is. But they need two things pretty desperately in the draft, which you generally don't find, at 10. And that is they need another scorer. A guy that you can count on to get 20 every year.
Yeah,
they got to find one of those, and they need. Bob Duff just wrote an interesting story where they need Tanner Jeannot. They need someone who's hard to play against.
Yeah,
desperately. Their second line has 2 guys on it who are 180 pounds or less.
Yeah, right.
They were referred to as the Littles, which I thought
the Littles.
The Littles. But the thing about it is,
that's awesome.
Robbie Fabry is one of those Littles, and he is a feisty.
Oh no, he's you don't want to go into the corner with Robbie Fabry.
Yeah. So he's not, even though he's small. Yeah. He's got a lot of pushback, but they need. A big, strong guy. I mean, Jeannot, I think, should be getting a lot more attention for Rookie of the Year. He's 6th in the league in hits. In addition to the fact he's got more goals than any other rookie. So,
and you know that Yzerman's going to get a good return on Leddy and Nemestikov if they trade him at the deadline, and maybe Grice too with the goaltending dearth that's out there. You would assume that they might be able to get a good return for him as well. I mean, that's probably another first-round pick and a couple
Yeah. Well, what sets it up is the fact that he can take half of Leddy's money easily, and he also can serve as the buffer, the third team for someone else as well.
Yeah.
But that's. That's an issue for a lot of these teams is that, their guys that they want to trade are making a lot of money and teams can't afford them.
Yeah.
Like I know one general manager who said, I really like this one player, but he's over $6 million and they don't hold any salary. Well, I can't deal with that. So.
Right, Kev. Let me ask you this: there's a guy who I like a lot in the draft, Jonathan Lekaramaki. He's playing for Djurgårdens, and right now he's got 20 goals in 26 games. He's 5'11", though, but this guy is a goal scorer. And, is the 5'11" going to hold them back from taking this guy if he's there? If they feel like he can get 20 a year in the NHL someday?
Not from he's frozen.
I guess we'll find out. He's thinking.
Yeah. Well, Yzerman was 5'11", so I don't think he's worried about smaller guys. If you can score, that's what they're really looking for. They really want.
He'll be there, and that's a guy who's definitely a goal scorer.
Yeah, but he's doing that in the U20. He's not in the.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, but that's a big difference because their prospects. They have a lot of prospects, and as you know, in the Swedish, hockey league, and that's where they gauge their success. And I just recently asked Russ about Soderblom.
Yeah.
Elmer Soderblom. I love the name already.
Yeah.
Elmer's having a good year there, and Russ kind of filled me in on what kind of player he is. So,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's leading his team. Liam Olgren plays there. He's another top prospect. He's leading him. Like, I get that it's juniors, but everybody's got to start somewhere.
Well, yeah, he'll be in the Swedish hockey league next season. So
yeah.
Let's get to your list.
So what I wanted to do, there's a couple. It kind of goes into this. I was trying to gauge how many top end players each team has. Like, just and I was thinking, basically we always talk about what a first round draft pick is worth, right? And would you trade a first round draft pick? And we always talk about it, of course, in terms of salary cap, in terms of that always plays into it, and that is a huge factor, and you can't take that away from the factor in the real NHL. However, if you took the salary cap away. I decided I did a little experiment of how many players you would, and then also I had another factor is this: the first the first 5 picks in the first round are different than picks 20 to 30. So to me, I wanted to say, okay, I landed on the 10th overall pick, all right, as my spot, because to me the 10th overall pick is a spot just beyond sure thing status, right? Like these are players who are probably going to be great, but you can always make a mistake in the 10th overall pick, right around there. So I said, okay, what players on each team and what team has the most of these players that I would trade for if salary cap wasn't an issue, that I would trade the number 10 pick for, just to see what level of skill each team has in my mind, sort of. And I'll do an example. I listed them 1 through 16 in the Eastern Conference, and number 16 for me was Buffalo. And I found 3 players on this team, and you might not agree with this. That's why I want to
do you consider players who are possessions of Buffalo but haven't played with Buffalo yet?
No, these are players on the roster right now. Okay. These are players who are playing this year.
Now, Power would be one of those guys.
Right.
Who was?
Owen Power.
No, he's not playing with them yet.
Right.
No, that's what.
Right. So this year, I looked at 3 guys that I would consider, and you tell me whether Thompson, Cousins, and Dahlin are 3 guys that you would trade the 10th overall pick for.
I wouldn't trade for Thompson because Thompson has had injury issues his entire career.
Okay.
He's having a really good year, and I like the way he's going, but I wouldn't trade the 10th overall pick for him.
I would do it for Dahlin. Unfortunately, I think Buffalo's screwing up Cousins, so right now I wouldn't do it for Cousins.
And there's also, by the way, the other factor in this is you need this. You need this player on your team. This is filling a spot that you need, obviously.
Right. Cousins is starting to come around. I have confidence that now. I agree with Russ that I think Luukkonen, they have sort of force fed him into the lineup.
Oh, they definitely force fed him.
Yeah, but he has had some success recently.
But he used to be a goal scorer, Mike. It takes
he's starting to score.
How many does he have? 3?
No, I'll check. I think he's got
I'm just saying, when you get a guy who's used to scoring a lot of goals, and this is what I said last year, and you put him in the NHL last year, everybody's like, yeah, I know, but it's better to have that NHL experience. Right. Okay. And then the same thing this year. If he's not scoring goals, he's going to get frustrated.
Well, I want to move quickly through this.
There's one guy not on your list that I would trade the number pick for, who is on the roster, Jack Quinn.
Jack Quinn, okay, Quinn. So
I agree. I would do that.
Because he's already, in my mind, you don't know what you're going to get with that 10, and we know what Jack Quinn's going to
be. That's exactly the spirit of this, Kevin. That's what I'm trying to find out. Where that risk is of you don't know what you're going to get for that 10, but this guy.
Dylan Cousins
he's a good prospect, and he's up. He's up now. So
Dylan Cousins has 10 goals Russ.
Right.
So, and what about Peyton Krebs too? He might be somebody that you would trade up.
I'm not as sold on him yet. I haven't seen enough of him as I am on Quinn.
Yeah, I would do it for Krebs. I would just say with Cousins, 10 goals is okay, but that's still,
I had Krebs on there briefly. Krebs was on my list briefly. I took it. It was only one my list took it. But I like Quinn. That's a good one. Number 15, I have Montreal. Again, a team that I have 3 players are on: Suzuki, Sherratt, and Price. Those are 3 guys I would do.
Okay, Sherratt is only because he's a rental. Normally,
we're talking about skill. Just skill, Mike. Is he worth a top 10 pick?
No, I'd rather have Alexander Romanov than Ben Sherratt because Romanov is 21 years old.
Okay, that's
I agree with that. I wouldn't.
Okay,
Suzuki and Price for Suzuki in that list.
And
you wouldn't put Suzuki?
I would. He's the only one I would do in that list.
You wouldn't put Price in there. You wouldn't give.
If Montreal's giving me a first to take Price, you've got
but we're taking salary out, Mike. And we're just taking this. I have a need in goal. I got a chance to get Carey Price
today. I'm not trading a 10th overall.
Bits and butts were candies and nuts, and every day would be Christmas.
I know, but this is a thought experiment, Mike. This is like just to see
where. I get it. And my problem is I don't know what Carey Price can do anymore. I haven't seen him in a while.
That's legit. I mean, that's like completely
his knee injury is an issue.
Number 14, I had the Devils. I have Hershier, Hughes, Hamilton, and Blackwood.
Hamilton and Hughes for me.
Hamilton and Hughes.
You wouldn't trade the 10th overall pick for Nico Hischier.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't either, Kevin. Interesting. This is what I like about this experiment because this gives you an idea of what people really think about. Let's go to Ottawa. 4 players.
But what about Mackenzie Blackwood?
No.
See, I'm a Mackenzie Blackwood guy. Like he's one of my goalies. Like Sorokin and Blackwood are 2 of my guys that I think are 2 stars coming. So, but you say no, Kev. You say
no. I just wouldn't because he hasn't showed me enough yet.
Yeah.
So.
Ottawa.
Okay, Ottawa. Kachuk, Stützle, Shabbat, and Norris.
I think you throw in Batherson there and maybe
we're just going with his list. Just go with his
list. No, go with my list and then add players too. No, I want you to add players. That's what I want to do.
Batherson is somebody I would consider, and Connor Brown, depending on where you are in terms of if you're competing for a Stanley Cup. I would love Connor Brown on my second line if I was a contender.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd give up a 10 for him though. The 10th pick.
He's still in his mid-20s, and he's been consistent last. And when he finally got an opportunity with Ottawa, he's been a consistent performer.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to think about that
I would do Stützle, Shabbat, and Kachuk for sure.
Not
Norris. Without a second's hesitation on those 3 players.
Right. I like Josh Norris, but I don't know.
I wouldn't do Josh Norris.
There you go. Okay, number 12, I have Columbus, 4 players. Line, Jenner, Werenski, and Merzlikins.
I wouldn't give a 10th overall pick for Patrick Line.
Who was the second player?
Elvis.
No, you said somebody.
Boone Jenner in
there too. So
Liney's got 3 goals. He's making $7 million and he's got 3 goals. No.
He's one of those. He's an enigma,
Yeah.
Is he reaching is he passing enigma and entering Alexander Daig territory?
No.
Werenski is the only one for me.
Yep, I agree. I would not trade the number 10 overall pick for Line right now.
I guess right now I wouldn't, but I'd probably want to think about that. I'd probably make a few calls.
There you go.
I'd want to talk to people and say what's going on, and because Liney is an incredible talent. But I know what you guys are saying. I mean, he's just not been the same player.
I watched him the other night. I mean, he scored a power play goal, but he has been hurt. He still only has like 6 goals. Maybe he ends this season with 20 if he gets hot. But
I guess I'd say no. But boy, I'd sure be intrigued to.
Oh, I'd be intrigued.
I think we'd have a cabinet meeting with all the people to discuss that because he is incredibly talented, but he hasn't done it in a couple of years now.
He hasn't done it in a couple of years. No. All right, number 11 is where I put Detroit with also 4 players: Larkin, Raymond, Bertuzzi, and Seider.
Not Bertuzzi.
Not Bertuzzi?
Not Bertuzzi.
I would
do it for Larkin, Raymond, and Seider.
Yep. And not to say Bertuzzi's not having a really good year.
No, I do it for all four.
All four.
Yeah, I mean, Bertuzzi is a heart and soul player.
Yeah.
He gets teams fired up. He is gritty. He's not fearful.
I don't know what his longevity is. Otherwise, I like him.
I mean, those are things you got to think about. But he scores a lot of goals and he's very consistent. I mean, he's just been phenomenal. And like I just said, they moved him down to the second line. He's still going. It doesn't matter who he plays with, he produces.
Yeah, there you go. All right, number 10, Boston. 4 players as well. Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, and McAvoy. They were the 4.
Not Bergeron anymore.
Nope.
He's still great, but he's, if you're, it's a rental situation, okay, fine. But
yeah,
he's 36 years old and he's probably retiring at the end of the year. No.
Yeah, Pasternak and McAvoy are mine.
And Marchand, I would go with Marchand.
I wouldn't do Marchand because I think the wheels are going to come off 1 year on him too. So
okay.
I'd trade the 10th pick for Marchand.
Yeah.
Bergeron was another? Or?
Yeah, Bergeron. Maybe too old. Maybe too old.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that too. He's still an incredibly strong player, and I don't believe he's retiring this season.
I hope for their sake, for the rest of the league, I'm hoping he does. But for their sake,
but if he retires and you traded the 10th pick, Kev, you're going to be pissed off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't.
You have to find out. If he's not retiring, let's assume he comes back and tells you I'm going to play 3 more years.
Yeah, for 3 years, I wouldn't do it.
So,
yeah. All right. Number 9, I had the Penguins. Crosby, Gensel, Malkin, and Letang. Would you make that trade?
Just Crosby.
Just Crosby, not Gensel?
Nope.
I think you'd have to for Gensel.
I'm not doing that. I don't know. I don't know what his longevity will be either. He is a terrific player. But when Crosby's not around, will Gensel still be the guy like that? I don't know.
I'm definitely not trading it for Evan Rodriguez. I think I'd go Crosby and Letang. The defensemen like Letang are tough to find.
You wouldn't trade the 10th overall for Malkin?
Nope.
Kevin?
Anymore.
Yeah, I'm going Crosby, Letang, and I'm going to think about Gensel, but probably won't do it.
Okay, all right, interesting. Number 8, Carolina. Aho, Teravainen, Svechnikov, Pesce, and Slavin. 5 players.
Everybody but Pesce.
Everybody but Pesce, okay.
Yeah, Pesce's not big offensively. So, yeah. You know what? I mean, this is sort of a little bit of an outlet. I like Neckish a lot as a prospect.
Yeah, I thought about him.
I think he's going to be really good. I would be willing to roll the dice and draft and trade the number 10 overall pick because he's 22 years old, 23.
Yeah.
He hasn't developed those quickly as I thought he would. I really liked him too, Mike. But this year, like his numbers, I just expected more from this season.
Yeah.
All right, number 7, the Capitals.
Hold on, I didn't do mine.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Russ.
I would do Aho.
Yeah.
I would do Slavin and Jarvis and Svechnikov.
Jarvis. Okay,
I thought about Jarvis too. You wouldn't do Teravainen, huh?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't even hesitate on Teravainen.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I think there's going to be an end point for him as much as I like him.
Yeah, but he's you're not sure you're going to get anyone as good as Teravainen, and
that's the thing. That's the game.
I'll roll the dice on that one.
How old is Teravainen?
27, I believe. I'll check.
Yeah. Okay. I'm doing it.
He's right in his career. He's right in his high.
I mean, this year's draft, I think I can get somebody equal or better.
27. Right. I guessed correctly.
To let you know.
6 players on the Capitals: Ovechkin, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Wilson, Carlson, Samsonov.
Yeah, I don't know about Samsonov, but the rest I'm fine with.
Ovechkin and Backstrom, that's it.
What about Oshie? What about Mantha?
Nope.
I thought about them, but Oshie would be tempting to me if I was
Carlson. I think there's going to be an end point soon, and I love John Carlson. No,
you wouldn't for Wilson.
No.
Yeah, I'd probably do all those guys.
I can get another Wilson in the draft. I can find
no, you can't.
I mean, he may not score as much, but I can find a Tom Wilson in the draft. I can.
You will get people who say they're getting another Tom Wilson in the draft. That's for sure.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He won't get the amount of.
But no one is Tom Wilson. Everybody says he's the next Tom Wilson.
Everybody's been trying to find Tom Wilson
I know,
for 3 or 4 years, and no one's found
But
him.
now there are players that are modeling their game after him. There weren't before Tom Wilson. That's the whole thing.
No.
Still got to have that combination. That combination of some part, and part of that is just God-given size. It's the combination thing that's crazy. All right, number 6.
For all those guys, I'm just not sure about Samsonov. I don't think
Samsonov is a tough one. I
don't think I will.
I'm bailing out on that one, but I like him. But I'm not doing a 10. No.
Okay, number 6 is where I have the Toronto Maple Leafs. 6 players: Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander, Morgan, and Campbell.
You mean Riley?
Morgan Riley, right? I had to put Morgan right. Morgan Riley, right?
To me, Matthews, Marner, Tavares are definites. Nylander is having a good year, but I'd still no Campbell. It's a year. I love him. He's a good kid. It's been a year and a half. I mean, I don't know if he's a number 1 yet, so I wouldn't trade the. I wouldn't. I would take the 10th overall pick for him. I wouldn't. Yeah.
Morgan Riley.
Riley. I'm 5.
You're 5. Okay.
Who was the 4th guy?
Nylander. So it's Matthews.
I do not hesitate a second for Nylander.
Neither do I.
Right.
Neither do I.
So those. How about Campbell, Kevin?
I think Mike raises a good point, but I'd have to think about that because the only reason I would say that, because Mike's right, it's only a year and a half, but he had a pedigree that he didn't live up to.
It's true.
And maybe that pedigree was always there, but it's just taken him longer to find it. And he's older. What is he 30 now? 29?
30, just turned 30.
30, yeah.
We do have some breaking news we'll get to in a second.
I'm going with the 5. I have no hesitation with Nylander.
We'll get to the breaking news. The Canucks have hired their general manager.
No, is it Alvin?
And it is
no, it's an assistant. It's not their.
Oh, their assistant. Oh, is that they hired their assistant? Okay.
It's an assistant, and I don't know who.
Emily Constant guy. Yeah, she's the first female assistant GM in the NHL, right?
But Kevin's right about something. I watched the press conference the other day, and there is no rush for them to get a GM. There will not be. Rutherford is not rushing at all.
No.
He's talking about names, and he is very open about we're going to take a long time on this.
Yeah. What is in parentheses that he doesn't continue is because I want to do all the big moves here.
I was going to say, Kevin, he's going to hire his general manager on March 22nd. The day
after. Kevin nailed that in advance because that press conference.
Yeah, that's 100% right.
Exactly that.
All right, number 5. The New York Islanders, 6 players: Lee, Barzal, Pelech, Dobson, Varlamov, and Sorokin.
No way, Anders Lee with his history of injuries, and no way Varlamov. I'd say the other 4 are fine.
Okay.
For sure, Sorokin, Pelech, Dobson,
and Barzal.
And
Barzal for sure.
Yeah, those are mine too.
Those are yours too. Okay. Number 4. This will be controversial. Philadelphia. So I got 7 players. So check this out.
Oh my God!
I know, and people are going to go crazy, but check these players out for a second.
No, right now I don't even know what's 7.
Okay, let's tick them off one by one and just go around the horn quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Giroux.
Yes.
No.
Well, you're talking about
getting Claude Giroux right now. He's a very good player.
Claude Giroux is still putting up points.
No,
for the possible 10th overall.
And he's not, and he's unsigned.
All right, there you go. No, it's true. Connect me.
No.
Provorov.
Yes.
I'll still do Provorov.
Cam York.
No.
Yes.
Carter Hart.
Yes.
Sean Couturier.
Carter Hart is a no for me.
Carter Hart's a no for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go yes because pedigree. So.
Yeah. Sean Couturier.
Yes.
Yes.
Joel Farabee.
Yeah.
No.
So Kevin, you went with 6 of my 7.
Yeah. I like those guys. So I
love Farabee, but now he is starting to get injured a little bit more than I anticipated, so I'm backing off.
Yeah, but
he's not the biggest guy.
Guys get hurt.
I'm shocked that you put Ben Sherratt on the list, but you don't put Ristolainen, who will get a first-round pick in a trade if they trade him.
I wouldn't trade 10th overall for Ristolainen, no.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't either.
I actually think Sherratt would get more than Ristolainen. I think.
I'm not sure about that either, but I wouldn't take risks.
Yeah, I think they'll get the same. They would get a first-round pick, but it would be lower.
All right. Well, that's a lot of players for the Flyers. Anyway, we're all kind of in agreement with that.
Well, I mean that goes.
No, I didn't go. I only went in on 3.
But we had the discussion. I maybe you were here, Ak, when we talked about this isn't the time for the Flyers to rebuild.
No.
So I mean this exercise we just did supports that.
It does support it. I agree with you. Number 3, I have the Rangers.
Okay.
8 players. Kreider, Zibanejad.
Well, let's do it quickly again. I like that.
Okay, Kreider, Zibanejad, Panarin. You just one player at a time. Okay.
All
right, one at a time. Kreider.
Yes.
Okay. Zibanejad.
Yes.
Yes.
Panarin.
Yes.
Yes.
Lafreniere.
Yes.
I'll still do it.
Fox.
Of course.
Yes.
Shesterkin.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Truba.
No.
Yes.
I would do yes.
Kako.
No.
No.
Nope.
All right, so we're agreed with
Truba's
most of them.
borderline. Truba's borderline. I mean, I might.
Yeah.
He's not the last 2 years, and especially this year, he's found his mojo. I would say,
And
not borderline.
I think we all understand now that he's kind of a shutdown guy. And when he first came,
He's got 7 or 8 goals this year again.
he has. But I mean, I think
He's more of a shutdown physical guy. It's true.
Yeah, his biggest benefit is his shutdown ability,
Yes.
but he has a tremendous shot.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Number 2, Tampa.
Okay.
9 players.
Okay.
Ready?
Time. Yep.
Cirelli.
Yes.
Point.
Oh, just one at a time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cirelli. Everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Point.
Yeah.
Kucherov.
Yes.
Kucherov. Sorry.
Yeah.
Stamkos.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No, Russ. Right.
No.
Hedman.
I'll think about it.
Yes.
You'll think about it with Hedman.
Yeah.
Foot.
No.
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 Okay. McDonough.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Yes, for sure.
Sergachev.
Yes.
No.
And Sergachev too.
Yeah.
Sergachev. Sorry.
Sergachev.
Russian names. Vasilevsky.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So you guys are not. Don't think Foot, right? You're taking.
Well,
No, I'm not doing it for
I
free.
think he's a good young defenseman, but
I
no.
just looked him up recently, and they're not playing him a whole lot.
They're not.
He's bottom pairing.
Yeah.
Although he just got suspended too. So to be fair.
Yeah, but he, I was looking up. I was thinking, they had that one game where they only had 4 defensemen, and he still.
Yeah, I do want to defend my pick to the chat room for Anthony, who's a Caps fan. If I have to choose, who do I want for my team? Let's say I'm going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Trouba or Tom Wilson. I will take Jacob Trouba because I need a guy who could shut down the other team's best guy more than Tom Wilson. And Trouba's got 8 goals. How many does Wilson have?
Interesting. All right.
Okay.
Finally, number 1, the Florida Panthers. 11 players. I'm probably wrong here, but tell me what you think of. I'm going to start with Barkov,
Yes.
Yes.
Reinhart,
Yes.
Yes.
Huberdeau,
Yes.
Yes.
Bennett,
No.
No.
Yes.
yes, Duclair.
No.
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 Okay, so one of the top 10 scorers right now.
I know.
Lundell.
Yes.
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 Okay, Uyghur.
Yes.
No.
Okay, interesting.
Uyghur's one of
Verhaeghe.
the most underestimated players in the league.
He is, but I don't know if he's going to do that for another 3 years.
Right.
Verhaeghe.
No.
No.
Nope.
Oh, I think that's an underestimated player.
He's
Yeah.
playing well, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
he's a hugely important first player.
To answer Bill C, Chris Kreider is leading the league in scoring. Marchand
Yes.
and Bergeron are not, and they're much older. So, yeah, Bill C.
Ekblad,
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knight,
Yes.
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 Bobrovsky.
No.
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 Now, no contract,
No.
just Bobrovsky.
No.
No.
Okay,
This is
because I think he's one of the best
I
goalies in
have
the league
one
right
or
now.
2 more great years in him, and I worry about him.
Is he one of the best goalies in the league right now? I wouldn't
No,
say.
I don't think so.
925 save percentage. This is his best year in 4 years.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
having a really good year. I mean, he's
Yeah, for sure. But
he got the most wins of any goalie, I think.
The guys who I think are having a better year are Jari for sure, Shesterkin.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a lot of players. You guys agree with most? No, I mean, you didn't agree with Vert. You do Claire. You did no.
No.
I think.
I had 9. I had 9.
You had 9. Yeah.
Yeah. I think no Verhaeghe and no.
Duclair.
Yeah, I think Duclair's history would preclude you.
Yes.
It's either, but it's one of those things. Is it his history, or has he just found it? You know what I mean? Like it feels like to me, he's just found it. Like
he found a home.
He found
his skill level was never in doubt. Like he was crazy.
No, but I mean, in 3 years, he may be on, out of it again.
So
maybe less than.
That's right. He hasn't found a home long enough for us to know whether this is a permanent residence.
Right.
No.
Right.
And he's still young enough that he could continue this. But yeah, his history doesn't lend itself. Now, Ak, we should save the Western Conference till Wednesday.
That's what we're gonna do. We'll save the Western Conference for Wednesday. I'd like thank you guys for playing along with this game. I thought it was kind of an interesting.
Yeah. All you did was give the reason for the chat room to hate us, Ak. That's all this game did.
Well,
they hate us anyway.
Just to give you everyone and Russ, maybe you can help me out here because my memory isn't this good. But the number 10 pick. One of them was the kid from Winnipeg.
Perfetti.
Perfetti was in the last. Was that 2020?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think the Vancouver guy who's in the league now was the year before.
Podkolzin was 10th overall.
Podkolzin was 10th.
Who was 10th last year?
Perfetti in 2020. I'm looking.
Yeah, I won't remember who 10th
was. It was Tyler Boucher.
Yeah, that was a bad pick. He's a good kid, but that's a bad pick.
Yeah, so I mean, it's. I think the reason I bring that up is I think it sort of brings some. Perfetti's a pretty good prospect, and the Canucks are happy with their guy.
Potential top liner.
Evan Bouchard in 2018.
Yeah, that's a heck of a pick. He's a potential top pairing guy too.
And Owen Tippett in 2017.
Oh,
he's taken a while to come around. So
yeah, but still not going to be a great player.
It's that number where it's definitely not a given.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
well, it's the right number, Ek. I think you found the right.
Cool.
Because it makes you think.
I've never heard the percent. If I was going to give a percent, probably like 58%.
Well,
60%, something.
Then
like
make it
two more.
58.
Two more of them. Both by Colorado. 2016, they took Tyson Yost.
Good player, not great. Yep.
2015, they took Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Great player.
Yeah, but the problem with it is the gap between Rantanen and Yost.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what the other problem is, though, and the reason why 10 is pivotal. So what ends up happening is when you go 10th, you end up taking somebody that you didn't think was going to be there because they dropped out of like that top 5 or 7. And so like Rantanen, for whatever reason, Colorado had to look at that and say, how the hell did he get here? It didn't even matter who they had on the board. They have to take him. Brad Lambert could be that guy this year, as an example.
Kev, the gap between Rantanen and Tyson Yost is the gap between Travis Kelce and the Buffalo Bills defensive backs last night.
Well, there you go. That's all the time we have for today, folks. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll be back tomorrow, and on Wednesday we'll do the Western Conference. We'll be back tomorrow to talk other things, of course. So enjoy.